ourselves the elite.
If not us, who?
A little bit of the bubbly.
And if not now, when?
We don't care about race or gender or sex or religion. If you're an elite athlete, we want you.
This is an official declaration of war.
Change the world.
We are going to change the whole universe! This is what you call a paradigm shift.
This is a family! This is a revolution! We can never stop!
All elite wrestling!
For the 50th time, it's Friday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for the next chapter of the only professional wrestling podcast that is changing the world every week. This is Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. I am your host, Bryce Reed. I am joined by my friend, my co-host, my tag team partner, Mr. Jonathan Davis.
What's up, dude?
If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Jonathan and I are two friends, fans, lovers of professional wrestling who are here every single Friday morning with all the latest news from All Elite Wrestling. Thanks to our EVP, Chris Genro, and our supporters on Patreon. We are here, the Big 5-0, 1 week away from our 1-year anniversary, because remember, we did skip a week. And the year we have had, truly unprecedented, truly unbelievable for the both of us. The world of pro wrestling has changed, my friend. JD and I have been here for all of it. In the words of Kenny Omega, we're just getting started. There's still only one way to join in the fun and aid in our conquest to help us make this show better every single week. And that's by subscribing to our Patreon, a pay-what-you-want subscription service that puts you in control. Subscribers get a ton of awesome perks within our community, as well as bonus episodes, access to show notes, and getting to watch us record the show live. All of the money we make goes into making the show better for you. It will always be free, but if you love what we do, you want to see us do more, head to patreon.com/Seeing the Elite. Our February Patreon special is up now. A loose kind of hangout show where we talked about our earliest moments in wrestling, our tastes in wrestling, where they come from, the professional wrestlers that really sort of shaped us as viewers. And we also answer a bunch of questions from the community. That's what it is. It's all about having fun on the Patreon special. It's all about sort of, answering questions and then hanging out together and enjoying each other's company, truly.
Everyone seems to have liked it so far, even though you and I both claimed when we put it online, like, yo, guys, this is a shit show, just so you know.
It's fun. It's interesting. They're not always going to be the same, which I think is kind of something we want to keep with the Patreon content going forward, is like some of the shows are going to be like this, going to be kind of hangout shows, and some of the shows are going to have sort of a higher concept to it. And the great thing about Patreon is that, structurally with this show, we want it to feel professional. We want it to feel right every week and stuff like that. Patreon's a place where we can kind of go wild creatively and do whatever we want and just put it up there and be like, this is extra stuff for people who want it.
So sometimes we'll have guests. Most times we won't. It's just for fun. Honestly, it's our sandbox to try things.
Yeah. And things that really work there, you might see come into this show or vice versa. So it's really just a really fun, creative space for us to be with those of you who support us, and we couldn't be more thankful for those of you that do. This is not a sports entertainment show. It's an entertaining sports show supported by fans like you from all over the world. On YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite. But if you really want to be in with the crew, if you really want to be filling out a sheet for Revolution, which you can be doing right now as Revolution is almost upon us this Saturday, where everybody's filling out sheets, everybody's getting them into Anthony. Big competition going on over there. The winner getting an AEW championship pin and a Revolution poster from the two of us, plus Equals Scorpion 1 will buy you a t-shirt of your choice from ProWrestlingTees.com. So huge prize pack ready for anyone who manages to take Equals Scorpion 1 out.
Speaking of which, for all of our listeners, Pro Wrestling Tees is having a sale right now. They don't happen often, so if there's something you like, buy it.
20% off all weekend for AEW Revolution, in celebration of AEW Revolution. Surprisingly, not in celebration of Super Showdown. I wonder why. But
dude. just reading about that today. Oof.
Dude, every time they have a show, every time WWE has a big show, I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I don't have to cover that.
Every time they do one of these in Saudi Arabia, it's like, okay, they already set the bar pretty low. It can't get worse, right? Right?
tinyurl.com/seeing the elite gets you the invite to our Discord server. Again, an awesome place that's going to really be heating up as we head into Revolution. And just a fantastic group of friends that I couldn't be more thankful for the community that we have over there for this show. It's tinyurl.com/seeing the elite. Come and hang out. It's awesome over there. JD on the time codes as always, but we're going to head first and start as we always do with a quote. Quotes, a lot of people ask us, what's your WrestleMania? What's your big event? We've never really designated one event as the big event out of our 4 pay-per-views, but just kind of going with what my gut is feeling, seeing the marketing element and the thematic element, the staging element, I think Revolution may end up being the big one. If I'm wrong, that means one of the others is the big one, so it's okay. But I have just such a good feeling about February 29th, end quote. That's from Cody Rhodes. He has the benefit of seeing beyond what we have seen. He knows what this event is going to be like. But looking at the cards and looking at the sort of spirits behind the events, I can't imagine how this event is AEW's WrestleMania over Double or Nothing or All Out.
I have to agree, but like you said, we don't see the big timeline that they have set up for the year and everything.
Right, we don't know what they're gonna do on Saturday. He does,
right?
So.
And I'm not even talking about Saturday, but just like further down the road. I'm sure they have the year, or at least the first 6 months of the year, planned out.
Right.
So I mean, I could see where he's coming from, but I do disagree. I think Double or Nothing is their WrestleMania. That's the inaugural event. That's the one.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah, I think that's the closest that they get to a WrestleMania type event.
No, I mean, I could see where All Out could be in that conversation as well. Mm-hmm. That was a real big deal because it has more symbolism to them, because that's where all of the Chicago at Sears Center, that's where all of this started.
Well, with it also being sort of a spiritual successor to All In.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like that weekend there, that's where everything started really. But we are looking at the card, and like if we're comparing this to WrestleMania, no, this card doesn't compare at all. I mean, even comparing it to Double or Nothing or All Out from this past year, like, nah.
Yeah, I would say it's probably a better card than Full Gear was.
Oh yeah, it's better than Full Gear. It's better than Full Gear. It's better than Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen, but it's not on the level of Double or Nothing or All Out.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's as good as those two.
Hell, it's not even better than some of the episodes of Dynamite that we've been having.
We're going to talk about that too. Let's get into the rankings for the week of 2/26. The tag team. Let's start with the tag teams. Now, Best Friends are finally appearing here.
Yes, which they brought up on commentary this week.
Yeah, finally making it onto the rankings this week. Best Friends at number 5.
Actually, they're coming back to the rankings. They'd fallen off for a while, but they were there when they first started doing the rankings.
Yeah, early last year, or late last year technically, but early in the rankings last year. It's weird. Above them, Santana and Ortiz at number 4, Dark Order at number 3, SCU at number 2, the Young Bucks in the number 1 contender spot, and the champions, of course, Hangman and Kenny. This, of course, inconsequential as we move into Saturday. We know the Young Bucks are the ones that are going to be there. The women's kind of more interesting to talk about, as we'll kind of get into a little bit more later. Britt Baker at number 5, Yuka Sakazaki at number 4, Hikaru Shida at number 3, Riho moved down to number 2, Chris Statlander moved up to number 1, and Nyla Rose is still the champion. Chris Statlander, of course, called into question as she had to pull out of an event this weekend due to the flu. So we're kind of unsure about they seem to be pretty confident, and they move forward with this match out of Dynamite, that this match is going to happen, but
it may
dangerous.
not be the match that was originally intended.
Mm-hmm.
As in, she may be there to compete, but she may not be 100%, and they may have to alter the match to adjust to that.
Sure.
But I think the match is still going to happen unless she is on, deathly ill. I think they're still going to do something.
Raw deal for Nyla.
A little bit.
But has to get in the ring and wrestle around with somebody who apparently has the flu, but I guess that's just part of the business. It's gross.
It's not worse than wrestling when fucking Moxley had staph.
That's true.
Pentagon got in the ring with him during that shit.
Yeah. The men, no change in the men's. MJF number 5, Kenny Omega number 4, Pac number 3, Cody number 2, Jon Moxley number 1, and the champion is still Chris Jericho. Now, when the rankings come out again, this will have changed fairly drastically, I imagine. Kenny moving up over Pac, and Jon Moxley potentially moving into the champion spots.
Yes, I still do not agree with Kenny Omega being on the singles rankings, but, such is life.
And we've had a question about this, and maybe we'll talk more in depth about it when we get around to March's Patreon issue, but the way I'm seeing the rankings at this point, because they've kind of shown it twice, Kenny Omega being here, Cody being on this list despite the fact that he can't go for the championship. I don't think the rankings have anything to do with the championship as much as it does just pure win-loss rating stats, right? So even though he's not able to challenge for the championship, he still has a better win-loss record according to them than Pac. And it's not necessarily contendership, although I think that it probably should be. It's more just really who's pulled ahead, which is weird, but it is what it is. And people have questioned, why is Cody there when he can't challenge? It's well, he can't challenge, but they're still displaying that his win-loss record is enough that he would be here otherwise.
That's also a self-imposed restriction. So
Sure. I agree. But then again, we also had a weigh-in this week for a sport that doesn't have weight classes. So
at least not in this
company.
Yeah. But,
being the elite number 192, entitled Toy Fair, a long one this week, almost a half an hour long, 26 minutes.
It didn't feel like it, though.
Yeah, it didn't entirely feel like it, although there's a number of kind of sketches in here that are okay, all right. Show opens with a commercial for Young Bucks killing the business from backyards to the big leagues, a brand new career retrospective book written, in big quotes because I'm sure they were helped, by Matt and Nick Jackson. Available to pre-order now at youngbucksbook.com. This is exciting. I think it will be cool to finally get those sort of career retrospective books from AEW stars. Kind of weird that the Young Bucks are doing this now. I say that, but Jericho has 12 books.
Well, it's kind of weird, but it's also not really weird when you really think about it. They've been in the industry for 15 years.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, knowing a lot of the wrestlers of the books, the ones that I've read, most of the guys that have written books weren't in the industry that long. Mm-hmm. They just reached a plateau of their careers where they felt was the peak.
Right.
I can see them seeing, like, I mean, given this is the peak, they own their own wrestling promotion.
Right. They were about where Foley is when he wrote his book and shit, right? Like, career-wise.
Same with DDP's first book and Stone Cold. So I look forward to it. Like, I will read it. I'm a big reader. So I will more than likely buy this, depending on who does the audiobook. I may get the audiobook, but...
Talk to Jericho, get Soul Train Jones to do the audiobook.
Oh my god, that'd be so good. Be so good.
I don't know. I will probably end up with the audiobook just because I tend to... I'm not a bad reader, but I get really bored when I read. And I tend to absorb information a lot easier through audio than I do through reading.
I do both. I like audiobooks because I can listen to them when I'm driving to work. Mm-hmm. But I also most nights I will go get in the bed like 30, 45 minutes early and just lay there and read. Yeah. Because that's what calms my mind, especially having like really bad insomnia and really bad ADHD. Like something that calms my mind before bed is the best thing in the world.
Yeah, not a lot more information here apart from that it seems like it's going to tell sort of the Young Bucks story that we've been used to. The great thing about a book, though, is that you have so much extra space to really talk about how you were feeling at the time, to sort of talk things you would normally have to sort of glaze over. Even in a documentary, you can talk about at length in a book, and nobody's going like, all right, on to the next thing.
Yep.
Which is cool. And it'll be nice to hear that story in that context. A book with two authors will be kind of interesting, where it's kind of telling two people's perspective and life story.
It's still probably ghostwritten. I'm just being honest. Like, they had just as, let's be real.
Somebody else... It's not. It sounds like a knock, but it's not. They're not writers. They should have somebody who is a writer helping them.
Yes, them sitting down and recording themselves, telling the stories and all that, but have someone else like transcribing it and making it into prose. Because what a lot of people don't understand when they sit down to write something is you don't write how you speak.
No.
So it's much better to have someone else that is professional do this for you.
Well, that's the funniest thing, because like when we're on this show and, I work out the documents for this show and I have to read an article or something, reading an article is pretty easy. The hardest thing to read on this show is the quotes.
Yeah.
Because the quotes are transcribed directly from the way that people talk, and it's fucking difficult to read aloud, especially because people just talk in really kind of illogical ways in terms of writing that are just more difficult to read. So.
Yeah, like when you think about like being in grade school and all the grammar classes that you took, like when you hear someone talk, they talk in incomplete sentences and run-on sentences and sentence fragments, and there's no punctuation, and you're like, you see a written quote out, like, what the fuck? This is like a 4-page sentence. What are you doing? And all that fun stuff. They didn't announce this, but if you check Amazon, which I just did, the release date's up.
Okay.
It is September 29th of this year.
Oh, okay.
Which is reasonable. I'm betting, I will put a bet out here. Anyone going to All Out will probably be able to purchase this.
Yeah, it's interesting because they put up a thing also about Hangman's book.
Hangman's children's book, yeah.
Yeah, his children's book that he's putting out, and the release date for that is to coincide with Double or Nothing.
That makes sense. I think all the kids' books have coincided with the big events.
Yeah. The show continues from there after the title card with a Bucks travel update from Hotlanta, Georgia.
No one says that. No one at all says that.
They talked briefly about the tag team battle royale and then asked Cutler to get an Uber. And Uber suggests that Matt should do it. After all, Cutler's phone is the one that's currently filming the Bucks. And also, side note, Matt could more easily afford it than Brandon Cutler could. But
they
the Bucks
stayed in a fucking fancy hotel, my guy.
Bucks then take this opportunity to bully Cutler into calling an Uber, which saying he has a boo-boo face or whatever, and then he ends up calling the Uber,
which is funny because I know, being in the city where I live,
right,
and like they were obviously getting the Uber to the arena. Mm-hmm. Don't really need an Uber. It's like 4 blocks. It's really not that far. It was funny, like, because I was watching the video. I was like, oh, okay, so where are they staying at? Because I'll know next time. Right. And I was looking in there, I was like, they're staying at the fucking W? Really? You bougie bitches. Like, this is one of the few hotels in Atlanta. It has a helipad on the top of it.
I mean, hey, the best money can buy if you can afford to stay
sure.
there.
But the flip side of this is State Farm Arena. It's attached to the CNN Center, which has a hotel attached to it.
Is that going to affect their platinum, their Hilton club status? Who knows?
The W is the W a Hilton hotel?
Fuck if I know. I don't live there, man.
No, it's a hotel family, you jackass.
Next is a scene with Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander hanging out. Statlander is struggling with her boots as if it's the first time she's ever worn them, despite the fact that she wrestles all over the country every night.
These weren't wrestling boots, though.
Orange Cassidy, perhaps frustrated by Statlander's weird onset of amnesia, removes Statlander's boot and throws it into another room where it strikes ringmaster Sean Bird in the face.
With like the force of a cinder block.
Right. He yells out, "Son of a bitch, bastard!" Statlander then hands her other boot to Orange Cassidy, who throws that one too, this time knocking Bird over the back of his chair, and a beautiful back bump from the chair, really got to be said. Now there's some footage of the EVPs seeing the action figures for the first time prior to the show at New York Toy Fair, just kind of sitting about the arena in Atlanta looking at these action figures, which we talked about it briefly on the Patreon episode, but they look great. They have 2 rings, full scale ring and a regular sort of kids battle ring. They've got a kids title belt that they're putting out. The second wave looks awesome. Pentagon, Phoenix, Dustin Rhodes, Hangman, and Moxley, all in those. And ringsidecollectibles.com is a place you can go to pre-order. But bigger news came out this week regarding the toys, in that Walmart will be carrying them when they release in the summer.
And that's a real big win.
Yeah.
No matter how you look at it, that they are.
Those are the fucking shelves you want to be on, man.
So that they're going to be at Walmart really kind of tells me they'll be in like all the big box stores.
Yeah.
But this is, you going into this, you think this is going to be a niche product, but it's like, damn, that's a big win.
No, it's going to be the battle for the Walmart shelves at this point. And if you go to Walmart now, the WWE toy section has shrunk unbelievably over the last 10 years.
I mean, most of the toy section besides the Lego aisle has shrunk. Well, that's like one of the few things I was like, oh, okay, everything else is kind of going out. There's like maybe 5 or 6 Transformers and some Power Rangers. Let's have another aisle of Lego. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, kids have toys now, but kids just have video games and iPads, and
that's the big thing, yeah.
Television and shit, right? So, I mean, they always had television, but now they have so much more.
Yeah, like me and you growing up, we had action figures and a console that we had to share and one video game,
and being forced to go outside.
Yeah,
and
we didn't have those fancy iPads.
Now the Bucks are in their dressing room. They realize they forgot their gear, but Nick isn't worried because he has a magic trick. He takes Young Bucks from Matt's wallet that's just filled with these fake Young Buck dollar bills and throws it at the camera, and gear appears on Matt's body. Kenny, of course, sees this and flips out, and Nick throws these Young Bucks that they have at Kenny, and then it gives him just this enormous pickle in his pants, dude. Just huge bulge.
It was a little uncomfortable, really, because like, well, the way they started this off is like, all right, I'm about to see his fucking ball sack. All right, that's fine. I don't need to see that, but okay.
He's impressed, but it's not as impressive as it would be if it was new gear. And then all of a sudden, Young Bucks gear appears on Kenny, and everyone celebrates as the Merch Freak theme plays. Of course, Kenny's still with an enormous bulge in the front of the pants. A really ridiculous moment on BTE, but really nothing funnier than an all of a sudden oversized pants bulge. In the next scene, Scorp and Kazarian confront CD about his relationship with the Dark Order and kick him out of SCU, which forces him to awaken from his bad dream to notice that he's wearing a Dark Order t-shirt, and then awaken a second time, really racked with guilt over joining the Dark Order, which he should be. Even though, I understand the way that he was feeling, but rough, man. It's gonna be hell to pay when that comes to a head, probably on Saturday.
Yeah, that's it's gonna be interesting to see, and especially
one can only hope they don't carry on after Saturday with this. But
I would really hope not. I think, but at the same time, like, I don't think they need to kill the Dark Order thing entirely.
No, I don't think they need to kill the Dark Order thing entirely. They won't. I just mean this weird. Did CD join or did CD not join or whatever? Like some sort of resolution to something that's going on would be nice.
Agreed.
In the next scene, the Beaver Boys are working out backstage. John Silver tells Alex Reynolds that his initial skepticism when it came to joining the Dark Order was unfounded, and that joining up was ultimately a good call. Alex says that the main objective for them tonight is to perform the whim of the Exalted One and eliminate SCU. This, of course, happening before the Tag Team Battle Royale. Silver asks Reynolds if he's ever actually met the Exalted One, and Reynolds says no, but trust me, he's coming. In the next scene, Matt wants to pick Tony Schiavone's brain about his barista legacy, and Schiavone takes offense to this and says, "Matt Jackson, you can go to hell." End quote. This, I love that they set this up weeks ago and that they pulled it off here. I thought that was pretty funny.
It really worked out well. It was a really funny thing, and I'm really glad that Schiavone's a good sport about all this, because like he could on it easily just be like, "No, fuck you guys, we're not talking about this."
I thought it was funny. The next scene is a scene with Nyla Rose, who passes by Nakazawa backstage and asks him where Justin Roberts is. Nakazawa says he's in his office, which is just a backstage interview area. Nyla approaches Justin Roberts with some suggestions for new entrance dialogue. She suggests Nyla, House of Rose, first of her name, Queen of AEW. All of this is in reference to Game of Thrones.
Yes, it's all Game of Thrones shit.
Which doesn't seem terribly timely, but I'll take it. Especially with her saying, calling herself the Queen Bee of the Hive last week. So, Justin Roberts.
It was all fine. It was like it went on too long.
Yeah, more of the joke of Justin Roberts not being able to alter his programming without administrator permissions.
Yeah, because he's a robot.
Right.
He is the Announce Bot 5000.
She then selects or suggests Queen of Puns, Khaleesi of the Great Canvas Sea, end quote. And Justin Roberts, again, cannot alter his programming without administrator permission.
The best part is every time he does the introduction, he just has the goofy fucking smile on his face.
She says, last time, Justin Roberts, Lady Regent of the Seven Kingdoms, hit it. And he just says the native beast, Nyla Rose. That's all he's got. Nyla exits and sucker punches Nakazawa on the way out, which is hilarious.
As you do.
Nagasawa saying, "Why me?" as she leaves, which was great. In the next scene, Matt brews Cutler a cup of coffee that he actually really likes, and then Cutler vows to spread the word about this coffee that's being made in the EVP room. Now Kenny talks about his training process for Pac, which has mostly been about rehabbing his torn labrum that he, of course, got at the hands of Pac from a previous match. He then shows us some, quite frankly, disgusting footage of him lifting stuff with the pressure cups on his shoulder, which I've never seen before when they're on. Oh my God. That can't be good for you. I know that it is, but oh wow.
There's a reason why it's a BDSM thing.
Well, yeah, there's a reason.
And you just saw why.
Like, I've only ever seen the aftermath where someone looks like they
just have a bunch of hickeys all over them in perfect circles.
Got a hickey from like a vacuum cleaner or something. But wow, does it really pull? I don't think you're supposed. And obviously he's with a physical therapist and a doctor while he's doing this. Who knows what he's doing? Yeah.
But also, I don't think you're supposed to like work out while you're doing this. This is my understanding of it, is that you're really supposed to do that and let it sit for like 5 minutes, and that's enough. Because if you notice, like as he's working out, like the spots were getting redder and redder because he was working out. And it's like,
I mean, ugh. I'm sure that the physical therapist believed that there was a benefit to doing that, you know?
Yeah, like he's a trained professional. He knows better than us, but it's like, well, it looked gruesome.
It looked nasty, man. I was watching it like, oh God, please never do that to me.
But what we were gonna do in Vegas?
What happens in Vegas stays in.
That's
Vegas.
How we get ready for.
Although I guess they've changed that now.
Yeah, they don't say that anymore. But that's how we get ready for all the punk rock.
Yeah. Put a bunch of cups on my neck. Now we see Cutler as a sign boy for Matt's coffee business that he's running out of the EVP room. Peter Avalon approaches and calls Cutler a, quote, freaking loser, end quote. And Cutler points out that Avalon's the only man in the company with a worse win-loss record than Cutler has. Avalon storms off. Cutler says Leva is welcome to come back without Peter Avalon. Peter, within earshot, is deeply offended by this. Which I thought was wonderful. Next, the Bucks recognize basketball legend Dikembe Mutombo in line at the airport security and wait for him to do his signature finger wave, which really funny to see them have that reaction to a famous person in line at the airport.
I mean, it's kind of a big deal, and I think it was just more how timely it was, because he was a very, very prestigious player for the Atlanta Hawks and did a lot of his career in Atlanta. And I'm pretty sure they were leaving Atlanta when they were doing this footage, so they were like, oh shit, look who's at the airport.
They're, of course, big basketball fans. It does remind me of when I was leaving Jacksonville, and Rick Knox was in security ahead of us.
It's not as cool as being on the same flight as DDP.
Well, to each his own, I guess. I would be more stoked about being on the same flight as DDP's daughter, but
she was there too. That's his stepdaughter, but yeah.
They're headed to Toy Fair in New York at this point. Funny scene with Kenny walking through Times Square as the Bucks sort of sing his theme at him. Kenny asks what they're doing.
What are you guys doing?
They're like, we're recreating your Titantron. He goes, why? I thought we were just going back to the hotel. And the Bucks say, it's outdated. You got to get over Japan. That company hates us now.
Which is the very timely, the first time they've actually really said it. And I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough.
Kenny agrees and asks if they want to reshoot the walking across Times Square, this time with more gusto. And the scene ends with Kenny cluing Brandon in that they're just joking and they're not going to do it again. The next few scenes are of the Bucks looking at the Unrivaled collection in New York. Just sort of montage footage of them looking at different things and doing interviews about the action figures, which look awesome. In the final scene, drunk Hangman comes to talk to Kenny. The two finally talk to one another about how they're feeling, and Kenny is legitimately worried about Page not being there when he's needed against the Bucks. A big opportunity that Kenny is genuinely worried that he won't be able to help. Unfortunately,
would have been a lot better if the audio wasn't so fucked.
The audio was really quiet in here. I don't know at this point why they're still having trouble with that. Like,
what are you doing, Cutler? What are you doing?
Get a field recorder. I don't know what to tell you. Unfortunately, Kenny does most of the talking here and doesn't really listen to Hangman's point of view at all. Hangman tries to open up about never feeling like he belonged in the Elite or deserved to be among them, and Kenny just basically isn't terribly sympathetic at all.
Doesn't care at all.
Yeah, Kenny's point seems to be that he really needs Hangman to be there for him and that they don't really have any time for this emotional bullshit. Anytime Hangman tries to open up, Kenny's just like, whatever. And then sort of ends it with, God damn it, get your shit together, man, for real. And Hangman, when given the opportunity to talk about what's bothering him, once again just reverts to blaming himself, which I think is a really smart way to play that character. He then says, we've had a good run, man. It's been good. And Kenny Omega says, we're just getting started. And Hangman sort of chuckles and then says, hey, we never even came up with a tag team name, and then exits. Hangman, of course, talking very much like it's over. Kenny still wanting to continue. I think we're going to talk more about this later because they had the best segment on the fucking show this week.
Agreed.
By a long shot, honestly. But, oh man, I am in love with this storyline and how they're playing everybody. Everybody's emotional reactions are consistent and real and very thought out ahead of time about how everybody's going to react to the emotions going on and the situations that are happening. And it's a really, really interesting moment for this company and for pro wrestling as a whole. I think this story, we're going to look back at this story as kind of a blueprint for like a new sort of very adult form of wrestling storytelling. AEW Dark number 21 from Atlanta. Jonathan was here for all of these matchups?
Except the last one.
Did you guys just leave for the last
We
one?
left like halfway through because it was such a bummer.
Yeah, you and half the crowd, bro.
Yeah, because it was such a fucking bummer.
But did you catch this week or at least the end of that match this week?
Yeah, I watched this like at least briefly because I wanted to see the order that they put them in. Because
the wrong order, that's for sure.
Well, the whole thing. So the first match, that's the same.
Right.
We didn't see the part with Luther in the arena because you couldn't, like, I guess where we were, you didn't know to look over there.
Right.
And you couldn't really see, definition, like unless it was on the Jumbotron, you wouldn't know to look at the entrance ramp.
Right.
That match, I thought it was a pretty good match. It didn't really get the crowd as pumped before, pre-Dynamite as you would expect.
Right, you're talking Jimmy Havoc versus Marco Stunt.
Yes. The second match, which is the first one that aired after Dynamite, was actually the Falls Count Anywhere. And in my opinion, that was a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that should have closed the show.
Like, I see why they did it, because they wanted to get as many eyes on that match as they could, because they knew, it's Wednesday night. It's kind of late. People are going to start leaving. Let's get the hot match out.
Right.
Then they had the Strong Hearts versus Dark Order. I wasn't really into it, and that's kind of when my dad was like getting a little antsy. He's like, "Hey, you want to go?" And I was like, "I got to see at least part of the last match."
Yeah.
And then the last match hit, and I was like, okay, cool. It'd be good to see Dustin. And then it was just such a bummer.
Yeah.
That we were just like, let's go. Let's just try and beat some of the crowd.
So let's talk about back to the top, because I thought the Jimmy Havoc versus Marco Stunt match was fine. As far as Jimmy Havoc matches go, this one's all right. Luther comes out on the stage to watch the match and point at his head early in this matchup, and then is never talked about again or shown again at all. Havoc's movements throughout the match are fairly uncoordinated and awkward now that he's taken on this more sort of wrestly style. I don't think it works against him. I just think it's a byproduct of maybe not being terribly athletic or graceful.
It's that, and it's like very clear. Like he took time off to rehab injuries, and he's still got the rust.
Yeah, it's interesting because he is trying to do more wrestling because it's not a deathmatch company, and so he's
adapting. He's
adapting, which he should be. But it's a bit of a process. Havoc does take the win with an acid rainmaker here, taking his record to 2-0 for 2020.
Yeah, so the crowd was very behind Marco. He's very much a crowd favorite. Watching this match, I think I agree with you. Like, he's trying to be more of a wrestler than just a deathmatch guy, and it's still new to him. I also think he is suffering a little bit because I think his primary wrestling partner is Kip Sabian, because he lives with Kip and Penelope in Florida. So he's very limited there, in my opinion.
Right.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm proud of him for stepping out of his comfort zone and trying to adapt to the company, and he's giving it a shot. It's more than a lot of talent from other companies that would do. They would just like, okay, you hired me to be a deathmatch guy. I'm going to be a deathmatch guy, so where's my death matches?
Right. Yeah. Strong Hearts versus Dark Order followed that match. This is basically an enhancement match for the Dark Order, but it was saved by some pretty entertaining ring work, I thought. The Beaver Boys get involved several times throughout this match, but don't really make a great deal of difference in the result. The fucking strikes from Shima and T-Hawk were awesome.
Yes, and you could hear how stiff they were.
Yeah, wicked stiff. Dark Order end up pinning T-Hawk off of a fatality for the win on the match. After that, Tony announces AEW Dynamite in Houston, Texas, April 29th at the Fertitta Center. So if you're in Houston, Texas, you may want to check that out. AEWTix.com on sale today. Kip Sabian versus Joey Janela in the Falls Count Anywhere match, which I thought fucking rocked. I thought this match was awesome.
It was much better watching it on Dark than being in the room.
Okay.
So for two reasons. One, crowd was little out of breath from the Cody match.
There was a Cody match.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
This
is Atlanta.
Yeah.
This is Atlanta.
From the cage match. So the crowd was out of breath, and people were starting to trickle out because, it's time for, you got to get the kids home.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't, bro, if I were them, I wouldn't fucking tape any of the matches after. I mean, it's probably a reality of what they have to do, but
I really wouldn't either. I would say they should probably move the start time earlier. And start at 7, do 2 matches before, do 1 after.
Yeah.
But in Atlanta, there were 3 after Dynamite, and it was like, yo, this is rough, man. Like, on a Wednesday fucking night, if I got to go home and I got to get in the bed.
Yeah, I think they learned their lesson on that one. Because, 3 matches after 10 o'clock is like, all right, guys, whoa.
Like, even me, I'm an adult, but it's also like, I have to work in the morning.
Yeah.
So the other problem with this one is it's like any Falls Count Anywhere match. It's like, it's great to watch one on TV. Sucks ass when you're in the room because you can't see shit for most of the match.
Right.
And you're trying to watch it on the big screen, and it's like you're not getting all the camera angles like you will on a
right. The finish happened on the floor on the opposite side from where you guys were.
Yeah. Didn't even know the finish was happening. It was just like you could hear people counting and like, what the fuck? Okay.
Joey started by punching Kip in the dick during his entrance.
Had my dad rolling.
Rolling Kip up as the bell rang, which was perfect. I thought it was great. It didn't work because Penelope got involved, but I thought it was really funny. The three of them from this point on, because Penelope Ford is very involved in this match, went on to have what I thought was an awesome Falls Count Anywhere match on TV. You know, say what you will for what it was in the ring. I thought it was great on TV.
I agree. On TV, I loved this match so much more because I got just getting to see everything again.
Just gnarly table spots from all three of them. I know Janela did an interview this week where he talked about them wishing that they had gotten to do it at Revolution. And I would have been fine with that too. But it's good here. Just kind of weird that they didn't close Dark with it. I think you kind of have the benefit of doing that with Dark. And they should have.
Watching this match, I thought this was going to be the closing match because it's like, okay, this makes the most sense. This is the most story-driven match. And we've been building this for a while. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Looking at the score, our scorecards for Revolution, I see why they didn't put it on Revolution. The card is up for 3.5 hour, 3.5 hour. We got enough shit to get through.
Oh yeah, it's stacked.
So it makes sense. I do understand them being a little bummed because that'd be a great match to put on Revolution, and in my opinion, I probably would have dropped the Dark Order versus SCU, but that needs story resolution.
Yeah, I probably would have switched those two, to be honest, and just put it on Dark. Janela catching Ford and throwing her at Sabian, sending them both crashing through tables, was awesome. And Janela actually picks up the win just after this by bashing Sabian in the face with a kendo stick. I don't think that that's the end of these two working together.
I don't think so either. I think this is a lot like the Cody MJF thing. This is going to be a long-running thing.
The end of the show was Sean Spears and Peter Avalon versus QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes. This match sucked. It was clearly... and not to talk shit about any of the performers, it's what they were given here to work with
was shit.
It was clearly just to get Dustin on the card, which I get it, hometown, but like figure out something for him to do.
So I kind of like what they're doing with Dustin and QT and Brandy. I like that.
That's fine. That's fine.
I enjoy that. Like, build that up as a tag team. They can just be whenever.
But I'm genuinely shocked that they couldn't find anyone else to be Sean Spears' tag partner.
Same.
So they just did Peter Avalon again, even though the whole story is that he's scouting new dudes. And then he already rejected Peter Avalon. And then they're running Peter Avalon again because they ran out of dudes, I guess. Couldn't get anybody else from the back to come out and
I guess
be the tag team partner.
And honestly, it's the way they're doing this whole thing. This makes Tully look more inept.
Yeah, it makes it look like Tully forgot to do it this week. The whole point of the story is negated, and it just made the whole match feel like a rerun. Except Brandy is here this time. Match competently wrestled enough. Just felt like filler because of the way that they filled this out. Was totally the wrong choice to close the show, that's for sure. I understand if you had to do that while you were in Atlanta, but on Dark, where you can put the matches in any order and it doesn't matter, I don't know why you would close the show on this.
And it just felt it felt worse. So it was 11:30 when they were rolling this match out. It was like, okay, and that's why I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's going to take me
and you're not alone, because you can actually start watching this match and then skip to the end and see how many more people are not there by the end of this match.
And it's more of a bummer because typically a lot of the crowds have been staying because they want to see Cody and the Bucks do their thing.
Yeah.
But this match and the one before it were so inconsequential that people were like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going home.
Yeah, it sucks, man. The match ends with Sean Spears leaving again. Leva doing her best to help out Peter, but Brandy is there to even the odds with a spear. And then Dustin wins off a double team cutter with QT. First big win for QT. That's exciting for QT. I just think they placed it in a really terrible place, and I would have just cut it. I mean, it would have been a shame to not have Dustin on the show, but They could have put him in a promo. It would have been fine. They could have done literally anything else with him.
Yeah, literally anything.
Cody Rhodes is on AEW Unrestricted this week. I didn't manage to get an opportunity to listen to it. I hear that it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm like halfway through it.
Yeah? How did you feel about it?
I've enjoyed it a lot. It's I think they fixed a lot of the problems that you brought up about the first episode. Mm-hmm. They still do some of the radio show stuff because they have Time Warner commercials in them.
Yes.
But like you mentioned in the first episode, there was a lot of like Shivani interrupting and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's much more like you can see that they did that first episode and then they took some time to think about what they were doing for this one. It's much more of a conversation. Like they talk. It's more of like honestly, Cody and Aubrey sitting there talking, and Tony, talks a little bit.
Yeah, that was the case in the first one too, though. Like Aubrey kind of hosts the show, and Tony is just there to be like, "Hello, folks."
I think he's there because he's done the podcast stuff, and he's to help he's in that producer role. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of talking about how Cody's a nerd. They talk about Star Wars and Star Trek and Harry Potter and
yeah. I haven't seen the video version. Maybe Shivani's like running the board and shit.
I would assume that it just kind of feels like he's in the producer role with how they did talk about a bunch of stuff like Tony, them talking like how hasn't been really close with Tony Schiavone throughout his life because they, when Cody was growing up, that was more when Dusty was working out of WCW and back into WWE, so he didn't really have that close of a relationship with Tony. He's trying to make up for it now. Things like that. It's like I know there's a bunch of like recaps of the interview on Reddit. Go check one of those out or listen to the podcast yourself. It's a really good one because Cody's very comfortable and very conversational. So it's not.
Yeah,
awkward.
I'm looking forward to it. It just came down to a matter of time for me.
That's kind of the thing. Like the annoyance I have with this is like it comes out on Thursdays. We record on Thursdays. Like if I have time to listen to it, great. Most times I'm not.
Yeah. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite from Kansas City, which I think was inconsistent, but awesome show. Just some sort of pacing issues, especially in the later game. Taz is on commentary with both X and JR all night. Tony Schiavone doing sort of like a runaround role for most of the show, which I didn't dislike.
Taz didn't really bring much to commentary though.
I thought he was. I don't know. I thought he brought as much as Tony ever does. I enjoyed hearing him. Again, just because of his excitement for the product.
He probably brought more than Tony did because he stays on the rails with Excalibur, and they both just let JR talk out of his ass.
Do whatever he's gonna do.
But it still felt like a little bit like Taz wasn't there much.
Yeah, the biggest surprise for me was that they opened the show with Kenny Omega versus Pac.
Yeah, I thought this was the main event.
In the 30-minute Iron Man match. So did I. I mean, it's and thinking back, I think it probably should have been. The Bucks accompany Kenny Omega to the ring. Hangman nowhere to be seen. Don't know why this is, but I'm willing to bet he wasn't asked. And if he brought up how shitty that is, he'd be called a baby by everybody. Interesting that the rules stated here, and they went through this in the match, that there is a 30-second clock stop cooldown period after each fall in the match, which I thought was pretty cool. I adore this match. My favorite match of the year so far. Was so goddamn good. These guys just looking for creative ways to work with each other. So many great moves in this match. And it was the biggest thing to me was like, oh man, this is what it's like when your showrunner actually likes wrestling. And just gives two of the best in the world like 40 plus minutes of the show to work an angle. And have a fucking barn burner match, man. This match it's so funny because it had no stakes. really at all. It didn't, who won, like, oh, it's a rubber match or whatever, but like nobody got anything out of it other than to have the match, but it felt really important, which is super not easy, because if it was easy, then every match on AEW Dark would be awesome, but they're not. This match went in with like no mustard on it, but just felt awesome.
Yeah.
It's so many brutal moves. The Avalanche Brainbuster that Pac did, the DDT on the concrete, the fucking Falcon Arrow off the apron onto the floor.
It was brutal, man.
Oh, man. Brilliantly, the first fall in the match comes via disqualification. Pac deciding that he'll take the fall in exchange for being able to strike Omega with a steel chair in the skull, betting that the damage will be enough for him to sort of make up the distance that he's going to take for the disqualification fall. And which is apparently the first disqualification fall in AEW history.
Yes.
Which is really interesting.
Because most refs are just like, no, it's fine. I'm going to let it go.
Because Dario Cueto loves violence.
Yes, exactly.
Pac does manage to take advantage off of a black arrow after the clock resumes, setting the score at 1-1 from there with 13 minutes remaining. Pac puts Kenny on a table and hits a gorgeous shooting star press to drive Kenny through it. Pac then tries to take a fall off of a countout, but the Bucks pick Kenny up and basically roll him into the ring. So kind of both sides bending the rules a little here. Pac then goes for the black arrow as the Bucks yell knees up at Kenny, and this gives Kenny a bit of a second wind, which translates into 2 V-triggers and a brutal Uranage. But it's not enough to put down Pac, who's been dominant through most of the match. Kenny goes for a one-winged angel, and Pac turns it into a nasty inverted Frankensteiner, which I thought was genius. The rest of the time, Pac is just being a real bastard for the last 8 minutes of the match. He slaps on the brutalizer. Kenny eventually finds a way out. Pac slaps it back on immediately, over and over and over, and it's so goddamn good. Every time he did it, I was like, what a motherfucker. Just gonna keep drilling this thing into his shoulders and his back and his neck, and we just sort of watch the clock tick down with Kenny trapped but refusing to submit. The
man just gave zero fucks about anything. He's just like, I'm gonna kill Kenny.
No, the bastard just wrenching it in, getting pulled off, getting back on. The time expires. The clock counts down. The score still at 1-1. And Pac just fucks referee Paul Turner's whole life up.
Yeah. He that was a murder on television.
It just elbows him in the face. Then Justin Roberts gets word from the back that the match will continue under sudden death rule. So now it's just a regular match. Which, okay, not my favorite way to end a match like this, and probably my biggest issue with the match is that it went 1-1 and then they just had a regular match after, but it was quick. V-trigger to Pac's face.
I think they kind of had to, because if they didn't, then Pac was just going to start laying people out. And they realized that after Pac fucked up the referee.
Sure. Aubrey slides in, ripcord, V-trigger, Kabagoye, not enough. One-winged angel, Kenny Omega ends up winning the whole thing. Excellent match. Not sure Kenny needed to win here. Not sure I agree with Kenny winning here. But I don't really even care all that much.
I feel like the reason why Kenny won here is so that they could kind of end the feud a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because the Kenny Hangman thing is taken off so well.
Yeah. After the match, Giovanni interviewed Pac on stage, asked him what it meant to lose this match after all of the talk, after attacking Kenny's friends. Pac, as one might have guessed, did not respond to this line of questioning very well. That's when Orange Cassidy, of all people, came out. Pac, within clear earshot of the microphone, said, "Fuck do you want?" Which, I don't know, TNT didn't catch it. Fight TV definitely caught it. Left it in just loud and clear. So
that was a very much a panic hit the censor button because you heard the fuck and then do you want?
It was awesome. It was not intended at all, and it will be interesting to see if he got in trouble for it. But he didn't know the mic could hear him.
I don't think they give a fuck about it. They don't care, dude. I mean, it was very much a panic hit the censor button, but it was also like, it's fine. I don't feel like people are going to get fined and shit in AEW, except Chuck Taylor.
Cassidy took off his glasses and stared at Pac. Pac elbowed Orange Cassidy in the face and then stomped on his head and then exited. After that, Jericho, it appears, has renamed his crew the Painmaker Posse to coincide with their new matching tracksuit game, which I love, and was the perfect way to follow up that last match, which was just unbelievable. I love that to death, man, and the guts to really give those guys that time. I thought that was beautiful. Lexi Nair has a new job as a drop-dead gorgeous backstage correspondent. She knocks on the...
She's just doing everything, man.
Anything they need her to do. She knocks on the Painmaker Posse door and is answered by the world's greatest wrestler, Jake Hager.
Fucking caveman, you mean? He can't even speak. He doesn't even know words. He just looks at people and then shuts doors because he's like, "Durr."
That's all you need.
Boss told me to open the door. Like, fuck, man.
She asks for a word with Jericho, and Hager does not respond and just closes the door, which I think is great, man. If you don't need to talk to people, then you don't need to be talking to them.
They're just proving more that he's a goddamn caveman.
I want him to go full caveman gimmick, personally.
It'd be more interesting than the fucking cardboard cutout shit.
It's a little too close to Jungle Boy, I think, is the problem.
It is, but it's also like if they gave him a gimmick of being a caveman that they've resurrected, and because it would all make sense, but it'd make more sense than walking out in like slacks and polos everywhere. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're not at a country club, you fucktard.
You just don't understand Jake Hager. I almost called him Jake Strong.
Then you wanted to call him Jack Swagger, didn't you?
I'm like JR over here. Jurassic Express versus Three Spanish Gods, which is what I'm calling this tag team. I thought this match was fine. It's supposed to be sort of retribution for Proud and Powerful eliminating Jurassic Express in the Battle Royale last week. It's a good trios match. It's in a really unfortunate position of following that outrageous Iron Man match. Everyone was exhausted, even me at home.
I wanted to take like a 10-minute break and make like a sandwich or something, just
have
to
a
like
cigarette
to breathe after that Iron Man match. Like, man. It was just a real bad spot.
They do their best to put on a good show, but it's a fucking hard spot. And it should have been filled by a longer non-wrestling segment, or they should have put this match on last where I think it honestly belonged.
Other than this, we're doing a weigh-in thing that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Finish comes with Sammy, who tries to hit Jungle Boy with a mad ball, but Darby Allin sneaks up behind and confiscates it. Jungle Boy takes advantage with a Hurricane Rana for the 1-2-3 on Sammy Guevara. Bit of a scuffle afterwards, but the baby faces hold down the ring, and Darby does a cue card promo through picture-in-picture where he again talks about his match with Sammy Guevara coming up on Saturday. We come back from commercial for an awesome video package for MJF versus Cody, similar to the one on Countdown, which we'll talk about later. Best Friends versus Butcher and the Blade. Or maybe put this one after. I don't know. It just needed something with a lighter tone to come after.
This one going after would have been better.
Orange Cassidy enters, still feeling the attack on his jaw from earlier. Solid match. These two teams work well together. I think this feud is a good use of both teams. The funniest moment in the match comes when Allie steals Orange Cassidy's glasses and wears them better than he does, quite frankly. In retaliation,
every girl looks amazing in aviators.
In retaliation, Orange Cassidy steals her bunny ears and wears them better. He just looks amazing in bunny ears. He then leaps onto the Butcher as the best friends hit a quick strong 0 on the blade for 1, 2, 3. The best friends win. After the match, Tony Schiavone comes to the ring. He makes Pac and Orange Cassidy official for Revolution, which is, oh man, I can't. If you had said to me, "Hey, book the most ridiculous match that they would never put on the pay-per-view card,"
the one week just kept fucking saying like, "Oh, they'll never do it because it's gonna be everyone, all the smarks will love it. The rest of the crowd will be like, what the fuck am I watching?"
But they don't care. They don't care, man.
They don't care at all and it's gonna be so entertaining to watch this in Chicago because like. All of the wrestling fans are just gonna to beef it up, and they're gonna be going wild when Orange Cassidy lays a hit. And
it's gonna be really fucking funny to watch.
Yeah, Carissa's gonna be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
And I understand people who are like, "What a weird use," and it is weird.
This match might honestly give Jim Cornette a stroke.
But yeah, it's weird. It's weird in a way that it's like. You can just see TK in the back just like laughing at like, why not? Fuck it.
Let's do
it.
Let's put this on a pay-per-view.
Let's put this match on the pay-per-view and see where it goes. I think it's fantastic. It's a really weird tonal thing. It's going to be really funny having people who've never seen AEW in the room here on Saturday. Watching this match because it's gonna be fucking weird, but I think it's gonna be amazing.
It's also really smart because this is one of those matches that you could really only do in Chicago, where you are going to have the crowd behind you 100%.
Tony Schiavone then turns to Chuck Taylor. Chuck Taylor says, "Tony, Tony, Tony. It feels good. The best friends are back in our winning ways, and my buddy here, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, Pac, you think he's a joke? Well, the joke's on you, buddy, because this time he's gonna try." And that's the end of the promo from Chucky T, which, of course, just lit the crowd up because it's a ridiculous statement.
It is.
Trent then says he didn't tell us that. He might try, he might not. He just to cover all of their bases.
Yeah, we gotta be careful here.
The crowd starts chanting, "He's gonna try, he's gonna try," which was amazing. Orange Cassidy lazily puts his thumb up, and then the best friends, Orange Cassidy and Tony Schiavone, kind of mess around in the ring through the picture-in-picture. I thought it was awesome, man.
I love it. I'm so down for the match. I love the whole thing, and as we know, we've documented the woes of Chuck Taylor wanting to say the S word on television. Had his perfect opportunity. Many people, including myself, called him out on Twitter, being like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Did you see him coming back on Twitter?
Yeah, he's like, "Guys, I have to have permission to say the S word." I was like, "Dude, what are you, 12?"
No, they only got one a night, I guess. There's a pre-tape promo here from the although fucking Pac said "fuck" on the air, so who knows?
Jericho does whatever he wants to.
There's a pre-tape promo here from the Dark Order. The Dark Order say that they've been directed by the Exalted One to fight SCU at Revolution. And, quote, "When all is said and done, Christopher Daniels, you will truly find out that you are now obsolete," end quote. Whether foreshadowing or a red herring here, the use of that word has to be intentional.
It is intentional because Matt Hardy is also doing very intentional things.
Yeah.
To be... Either foreshadowing or a red herring, but he did something where he posted a YouTube video under the alias Dr. Orton or some shit like that.
Dear Dr. RKO.
Yes, where it's an anagram for Dark Order. Right. Shit like that. Like they're both being very they're playing into the joke, and people are going to get disappointed and upset at the end of it. We all know it's going to happen, and then they're going to call people out. And it's like, no one's explicitly said anything.
Yeah.
Take the joke and move on.
It's here they also talk about the new signing that they added this week.
Yes, Mr. Lance Archer, who will be showing up next week.
Yeah, Lance Archer, who is a big NJPW guy. I don't really know that much about him other than that he's had some success over there. The current U.S. title holder or recent U.S. title holder at the very least.
He was recent because him and Moxley had one hell of a match at Wrestle Kingdom.
So that's exciting that we're going to get to see him. Interesting for them to announce that ahead of time instead of working it into a story. But I guess it's a big high-profile thing if you're a New Japan follower. So I know everyone in Discord who is a New Japan person was like, holy shit. So that's exciting to see him coming over.
Yeah, and to be clear, he is working only AEW. He did leave New Japan. He's not doing the Moxley deal.
Okay.
So that's something to keep in mind, which is also like a little bit more interesting because they offered the Moxley Jericho deal to Jeff Cobb.
And he didn't take it?
I don't know if he took it or not. It's still up in the air.
Yeah. Yuka Sakazaki versus Hikaru Shida versus Big Swole versus Shana. The mustard on this match is that the winner becomes the next in line to fight whoever wins on Saturday. Or possible alternative if Statlander is unable to compete.
Yeah, I think that this match got booked to the last minute and is a backdoor. Like, okay, Chris can't fight. Let's keep Nyla on the card.
That's what it felt like to me, because otherwise there's absolutely no reason to have this match this soon.
Especially with how fast it was.
Yeah. I like this match a lot. It had kind of a silly tone to it, but was pretty exciting. A lot of it takes place during what felt like 4 minutes of straight picture-in-picture commercials. It's Shida who takes the win off of a running knee on Big Swole, which is pretty cool to see. So Shida is the next in line for whatever that's worth. It does feel like it's something that they set up in order to be like, well, we'll just show who we're going to pick for number one contender anyway. But this way, if Statlander's flu ends up being really bad on Saturday, we can just slot in Shida and it'll be fine. We then got this incredible Elite interview, which, wow, man.
This took a real, almost cringy turn.
How so?
Because it got very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, deeply uncomfortable. But I wasn't cringing by it because I thought it was excellently executed.
I do as well, because this is one of those things where you have to be very, very careful, because it gets cringy very quickly. Mm-hmm. Of making your audience uncomfortable like that, and they played it perfectly, but it was like, damn, this could go real bad very quickly, kind of thing.
So Jim Ross sits down with the Young Bucks and the tag team champions here, Kenny and Hangman, to talk about Saturday's title match. Matt is openly condescending from the word go here, and it's really interesting to see that it seems like they're turning them, both with them sort of being kind of like shitty to Cutler on BTE earlier this week, and then this especially was like, wow, like kind of quick deep heel turn for these guys. As he says, he never imagined that Kenny and Hangman would be tag champs. Kenny and Jim Ross and the Bucks openly talk about how the Bucks are the, quote, best tag team in the world. All of them in agreement of that repeatedly, even though they don't have the tag titles and were given several opportunities to win them before Hangman and Kenny were even a team. Kenny's first priority, as always, seems to be sort of protecting the feelings and egos of the Bucks, saying that he and Hangman were just kind of in the right place at the right time. Hangman rightfully is
pissed the fuck off.
Yeah, not like anybody would be. He slightly says, yeah, I guess this is all just a big accident, really, as he just sort of sips his whiskey. Kenny desperately trying to pull his foot out of his fucking stomach, where it is at this point. JR sort of sees the tension, asks Hangman point blank what's going on, but again, asks him in a way like he has nothing to be upset about, when like I'm watching this and going like, dude, I'd be fucking pissed too.
And that was that was the part where it kind of fell apart. Is JR asked like, Hangman, what's wrong? And like,
yeah,
dude, you have to know your tone of how you're asking things, because you made it awkward.
Matt then attacks Hangman for bringing a drink to the interview. It's like, why'd you have to, I wasn't going to mention it, but why'd you have to bring a drink to the interview? Hangman says that he's just there to do the interview like everybody else. Everyone seems to be kind of ganging up on him. Matt then cuts this speech about how the men across from him are like a second family, one he sees at times more than his actual family. But in the ring, they're different guys. Matt says that the Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world. Quote, not you guys, we are, and we're coming for those, which is a statement that completely confounds me, considering they don't have the titles. But they work through it, and the more Matt talks, the more it becomes clear what he's doing, and it's really fucking shitty. Matt continues by saying that they'll shake hands at the end because the Elite is bigger than the titles, which sounds like a nice guy thing to say, that he's saying like our friendship is more important than the business or whatever, but it seems more menacing and insecure here, because Matt is basically saying, even if you guys beat us, it won't matter. Because saying the Elite is bigger than the title is saying the Young Bucks are bigger than the title.
Yep.
Which is such a subtle and psychological thing for a person to do. And it's so heel. It's so mean. And just like crappy to do as a person. Page then picks up on it, thankfully. Like Hangman Page is like right there with all of the fucking tricks that they're pulling and shit. As Kenny, and I love this, Kenny's reaction is just to fall silent.
Yeah, and it's kind of the perfect way to do it, because
doesn't defend anybody, doesn't do anything, just sits there silent, like is so uncomfortable by what's happening that he just doesn't say anything. Hangman immediately is like, what's bigger than who's carrying these? And the Bucks are like, the Elite. And Page reminds the Bucks that he tried to leave the Elite months ago. Matt replies by saying, after everything we did for you, after we brought you into the Bullet Club, put you on being the Elite, made you a star. Nick follows this by saying, you were just a jobber in Ring of Honor when we brought you to the Bullet Club. Matt asks Hangman what the chip on his shoulder is. Hangman says that the only thing on his shoulder is a tag team championship belt, and then has the just heartbreaking quote of, it's been the biggest accomplishment of my career, and the first chance you get, you want to take it away from me. And Kenny finally speaks up, not in defense of Hangman, but just to say it's all part of the business, which is like, let's stop having this argument, guys. And then Hangman agrees. He says it's all part of the business, but my glass is empty, so I'm out. And Hangman exits. It's such a wonderfully nuanced story about people's feelings, about the way people are acting. The Bucks clearly the heels here in a really, really deep psychological and hurtful way. And Hangman sitting here and being like, the idea that they have to come after them to get the titles from Hangman and Kenny. And again, I think it's wonderful that Hangman doesn't really verbalize it well enough. He like kind of gets there, but doesn't really get there, but doesn't come out and say, you guys can't, like, I left the Elite because I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. I wanted to get accomplishments on my own. Now I'm finally kind of getting something on my own, and you guys have to come and make it about you. Again,
it's
always.
kind of,
it always has to be about you. It's not about the Elite. It's about your fucking ego. Always.
And to be honest, like, he has a point. Like,
yeah,
everything is always about those two guys, and like it's very much like the friends you had in high school who you know. There's always the one or two friends where everything is about them, no matter what.
Right.
And you try to do everything you can, and you don't really want to hang out with them anymore, but you do anyways.
Right. And the problem is they hide behind, oh, it's all about the Elite, as long as the Elite are successful. But the Elite are successful. Hangman and Kenny are Elite.
Well,
but it doesn't matter.
Also,
it's about, because it's not actually about the Elite, it's about the Bucks.
Yeah, and it's also like, Cody's been successful. They're successful as a group because they own a wrestling promotion.
Right.
So it's like, is it really about the Elite or is it about the Young Bucks?
And nobody comes out and calls it, but the funny thing is they don't need to, because like everybody gets it off of what they do say. Everyone's like, oh, so no, you're sitting here being like, oh, it's all about, the Elite, it's bigger than the title or whatever, and it's like, you're just saying that the Young Bucks are bigger than the title because you don't have it. And
yeah, and you should have it, but you fucked up and you overestimated a lot of people.
Right. And now you have somebody who has scratched and clawed to get success in this business, has seen more failure than you guys have, even since being here. He's supposed to be your friend. He's supposed to be your team partner. And now you're going to go and take the belt from him. And he's upset about that. And he wouldn't be upset about it if you were being cool, but this whole time you haven't been cool. Every time they've had a success, you've come out and been like, we're part of this too.
Yeah.
And
it's a weird place because, you look at these guys and they're like, yeah, you've had every opportunity to win these championships.
And you're going to have more opportunities in the future, but you can't
stomach
lay off
it
for a fucking minute.
Yeah.
And let Hangman have a little bit of success that isn't about you. You have to make everything about you all the time. And that's the biggest thing for me, is that, usually a heel in professional wrestling, it's like, oh, he stole my girlfriend, right? Or like MJF, right? Like, he said he was my friend and then he kicked me in the balls and now I can't challenge for the title again or whatever. These guys are heels, but they're heels for like really human reasons that we've all interacted with people where it's like, everything's got to be about you, doesn't it? Like, that's just how it is.
Yep.
And I love that they're building a story around this. And I think more than just having the idea to build a story around that, I think their execution has been really, really good on it. And it's been the most compelling angle on television for me this week for sure. But looking back, like, for a while now, and the drinking thing, I don't want to paint Hangman as a saint, because like the drinking thing has definitely made his case hard to follow. And hard to take him seriously when he's showing up to interviews with a drink in his hand or whatever. But I love that everybody has a little nuance to what they're doing. No one's 100% right, but everybody has a right to be upset by the way everyone else is acting. And even Kenny is playing a character who is, probably from the way that he's acting, understands why Hangman is upset, but isn't defending his friend at all.
No, because he's more concerned about his other two friends, and that's kind of like, it's coming across like a lot on BTE, but they're doing enough of it on, on Dynamite to keep it going. Mm-hmm. It's a good storyline, and like it's going to come to a head this weekend, because this is the literally the breaking point of the Elite. Yeah. And I think it's a wonderfully smart and nuanced way to do it. That's not just like all of a sudden one of them starts acting bad. Yeah. Or crazy or some stupid shit. No, it's just due to kind of deep personality flaws, which is how actual friendships end. Yeah. The weigh-in. Let's talk about the weigh-in. I think that this ending was actually pretty sloppy, and it fell flat for me in a big way, man. Again, there's absolutely no point in having a weigh-in when you don't have weight classes. So that was part of it, is that it's like, okay, they're weighing in, but like, why? Well, it was also like the old trope of a contract signing in wrestling. Like, if they were going down that route, fine, let's do it. Well, sure, but they've done the contract signing before, and I thought the contract signing at least worked, because it's like, oh, maybe they do have to have a contract to have a title match, But a weigh-in when they don't have weight classes, it's like, so what does it matter? It's not like they got to make a weight of some kind. It's not like they're going to be disqualified if you're carrying too much weight. So who cares? Yeah, it was just a very strange thing overall. Like, I would have preferred they just stuck to the contract signing Like, it's an overplayed angle, but sure, it's part of wrestling at this point. Championship match, you gotta sign a contract. Okay, it means nothing. It's just a piece of paper, and it's literally just usually a blank sheet of paper.
Sure,
but it's the ceremony of things. To me, this whole thing felt like, okay, they wanted to do something else, but something got cut, or they didn't have a performer or something.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal with this shit, man. I really am just like, what? Fight TV viewers got to hear JR like bust a nut at the booth when the two women showed up, which was pretty funny.
That was also weird.
They then welcome Gary Michael Capetta to do these intros, which I guess was a WCW ring announcer.
I don't know. I don't remember him. The only times I remember ring announcers in WCW were like the big pay-per-views, and they had fucking Michael Buffer.
It seems like he's just there for maybe TK's benefit.
Probably. He's probably like a local guy, and TK was like, hey, do you want to come on the show and be on the show? Because it'd be cool. Come on the show.
Or, like really deep wrestling nerds or old people or whatever. He's not as good as Justin Roberts. But, okay. He comes out and does a job. They put a lot of work into making this thing look official, assumingly with the hope that it would distract from how pointless it is. Seeing the Inner Circle sort of man train out to the ring in matching tracksuits.
Yeah, the thing that they stole from the Gracie family from UFC 1.
Yeah.
That's 100. That was all that. That's what that was. And it was
it's almost worth it. It's almost worth it for that, because I thought that was hilarious.
If this was a real fucking sport, or if they'd done that on Saturday as Jericho's entrance, okay, let's do it. Fuck it. But for this farcical weigh-in, like, what are you doing?
I also love hearing Jericho say Mahomes is a piece of shit.
That was great. I love that.
Just to fuck with KC. Mox is the first to weigh in after Jericho refuses to go first. His weight is 235 for what that's worth.
I did like that they were doing honest weights.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, okay. I can see Moxley weighing 230. That makes sense.
What I loved was Taz trying to put it over. Taz was like, he could be carrying more weight than that, but he's not. It's smart to be at that lower weight because it's going to give him more endurance or whatever. Like, Taz really tried to like lay it on. Was great. Jericho just playing with his dick for 5 minutes instead of getting on the scale, just stalling. And then Moxley headbutts Jericho.
He didn't want the world to know how fat he is.
Splitting Jericho's forehead open. The Inner Circle attacks Moxley. Dustin comes down to attack Hager. Darby comes down to attack Guevara. Moxley fights off Proud and Powerful and then tries to get Jericho with a paradigm shift. Santana uppercuts Moxley's junk, and then Jericho hits Mox with the Judas effect and then drops him with a paradigm shift on the scale. I see the wisdom behind doing this at the end. They wanted to be able to push multiple matches, push this sort of everybody versus the Inner Circle thing, except for Proud and Powerful, weirdly enough.
That's that's one of the bummers to me, is like that they don't have it's not the full AEW versus the Inner Circle.
Yeah.
That's
again really weird.
I would take off this Dark Order match and move that to TV and put Dark Order versus Lucha Bros or someone they have legitimate beef with.
Yeah, large Lucha Bros versus Proud and Powerful, you mean?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Just replace that match. Give it, they have a beef with them. They fucked them over at the end of All Out. They attacked them. Mm-hmm. Let's do something. Make it AEW versus the Inner Circle.
But it's not. It's like most. It's AEW versus most of the Inner Circle, and then like some other matches that are going on, which is fine. Show ends with Jericho holding the title high. Yeah, just a really weird, meandering idea about a weigh-in, and then it just sort of goes until Moxley attacks Jericho, which is where it was always going to go, but like it didn't really seem like they had a point other than like go out there and then Mox will weigh in.
It's kind of,
Jericho just like fuck with the crowd for 5 minutes and then we'll do the action and go home,
Yeah, I mean, it's better than, anything that was on the Super Showdown today, but it was still kind of just like we didn't really need this.
It would have been so much wilder to end on that fucking Iron Man match, man.
Yeah,
that Iron Man match was amazing. But that's the end of the show. Again, I thought it was great. The pacing issues throughout weren't enough to make it a bad show for me. I thought it was awesome, and there were so many great moments. Really, that the Hangman interview with the Bucks and that Iron Man match was just amazing. AEW ratings 865,000 to NXT's 717,000. This is shocking considering they pulled down Charlotte Flair and put her in the main event.
Yep, they did
on NXT to try and pop a rating, and they still came up more than 1,000 viewers short. So,
and the other funny thing is for the Countdown show, AEW got 383,000. Miz and Mrs. only pulled 394.
Countdown. If you haven't seen Countdown was good.
It is not on YouTube because I was going to watch it today.
It's on YouTube in parts. Like, it's all parted out, which I wouldn't recommend watching it that way. I believe it's on Fight TV. If you haven't watched it on Fight TV.
I'm sure it will be airing before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, one can only hope. I thought it was really, really good. Highly recommended, even if you're somebody who watches BTE and Road 2 every week. I thought it was great. Lots of new footage. So definitely watch it. If you're having a party, I recommend putting it on before the show. Get people who haven't been watching sort of up to date on things. The ending kind of just abruptly ends, which is weird, but it's cool. It's like 48 minutes. It's a great little thing that they put together, and they've been working on it with having doing the Countdown in mind, which is nice. So it's not just like a recut of Road 2s. It's like this whole other thing.
That's good news because the last one was just the recut and it was disappointing.
Yeah. This one's cool, man. This one's really cool. Of course they're cutting footage from Dynamite, from Dark, from whatever. Like, they're using video sources, but it's its own thing, which is nice. Let's do picks quickly.
So I'm just going to go down the scorecard, like the columns.
Okay.
All right. So first match, Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara.
Gotta be Darby.
Okay. I also picked Darby Allin. I love Sammy, but I don't think he's going to go over. They built this up too much.
Well, yeah, and they had him drop the skateboard on his throat and shit. I don't see it. I think they're gonna have Darby have a big win here.
Yeah, I agree. Second match, Dark Order versus SCU. This is already been said it's going to be on the pre-show. Not that it matters.
Okay. There's a pre-show. Okay, then. Do we know? So is the show starting earlier than we thought it was going to start on?
I think it's still 7 for pre-show, and then for whatever that means.
So they're probably running 7 to 11 then.
Yeah. And then the first 30 minutes probably recap countdown.
So Dark Order versus SCU?
Yes.
Dark Order versus SCU. I mean, I would think that it would be Dark Order.
That's my thoughts as well.
Yeah.
I think at least this one, like, Dark Order has to win. The Heels have to go over on this. If SCU wins, it makes no sense.
Yeah. It'd be really weird, especially with them saying that the Exalted one is close. They're always like, "Oh, he's close. He's coming."
Yeah, that's one of the choices for the scorecard is the Exalted one revealed or not?
We shall see.
Nyla Rose versus Chris Statlander, maybe.
Nyla Rose.
Yeah,
I think Nyla Rose should hold on to that title for a while.
I was looking at the card and, like, okay, all 3 championships are on here. The only one that really should change is Jericho's.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, he's been the champion since All Out.
Yeah.
So it's like it's been a couple 100 days. It's time. Pac versus Orange Cassidy.
Pac versus Orange Cassidy. I don't fucking know.
Right? I'm just like, okay, logic says Pac, but
I think probably Pac.
okay, I picked Orange Cassidy because what I think is going to happen is it's going to be like a DQ win.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because Pac will get pissed and hit him in the face with a chair.
Yeah.
Heavyweight championship or world championship, whatever. Chris Jericho versus Moxley.
Chris Jericho versus Moxley. I don't know, man. I think the idea behind having Hager and Dustin and Guevara fight Darby is to sort of like mitigate the inner circle threat to a certain extent, which only makes me think that
Jericho's walking out.
No, that Moxley will have a chance, especially with Moxley going down pretty definitively at the end of the show this week.
That's fair.
I think Moxley's going to take the title.
Okay. So, you could say like, oh, it's like mitigating how bad the inner circle is. Like, okay, Jericho's still going to come out on top to say like, yeah, my boy's lost, but I'm still champ.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. MJF versus Cody.
Oh, man.
This is the hardest one to me.
Yeah. I'm going to say MJF.
Fuck. That's what I said too. I want Cody to win, but I think MJF is going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's going to win in a way that is clean, but I think he's going to win.
God, no. I already know who the next one is. You're obviously picking Jake Hager.
Oh, man. I don't think he's going to win, but Jake Hager.
Yeah, you have to. it's the rules of the bet you made. And then Hang Mega versus the Young Bucks.
I'd love to see Kenny and Hangman hold on to it. I hope. I'm going to vote with my heart on that one. Kenny and Hangman.
Okay.
What's
that?
The winner. Are we doing a T-shirt bet? What's going on here?
Yeah, we're doing a T-shirt bet, and we have a second stipulation.
Okay.
The stipulation is at the beginning of our episode on Sunday that we record our fallout of
which
Revolution.
Will be out Monday.
Yeah, the fallout of Revolution. The loser has to proclaim their undying love for Britt Baker and JR. It's fucking hard, man.
God damn it.
It
better be good. It better be good.
Yeah. like maybe we'll put it at the end of the episode so that you have a little bit extra time to really formulate your words.
Sure, I'm gonna lose. That's how this usually works.
Yeah, because I was beating your ass until we started putting bets on this shit.
Oh man, I'm so excited for Saturday. It's gonna be
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be an awesome show. Will it be the Wrestlemania of AEW?
Who knows?
I don't know. But there are so many matches that I'm super excited for that I don't know what's gonna happen. And I'm having a big party for my birthday. Just a few days after Revolution. Having some Chicago style pizzas, having some Chicago hot dog appetizers, and having a bunch of friends over to watch AEW. It's going to be an awesome show, and I'm really looking forward to it. And then we'll be back to record on Sunday for the show to go up on Monday. You can watch the show live if you subscribe to our Patreon. If you want to become one of our best friends, patreon.com/seeingtheelite. That's patreon.com/seeingtheelite. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/seeingtheelite. Twitter @seeingtheelite. If you really want to be in with the crew, in with our awesome band of AEW friends from all over the world, tinyurl.com/seeingtheelite. And thanks to our patrons, Adam Dyson, Alejandro Diaz, Andre Gunther, Bill Laviolette, Chai Latte, Chris Genro, Cody Fagu, Ale Avoth, Gary Rains, Keith Kazulno, Kevin Bartlett, Mark Morgan, Merman, and Peter. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show with all of your hard-earned money. It means the world to us. Before we go, Jonathan, do you have anything else for these people?
Yeah, patrons, please jump into Discord. There's a special poll for you guys. I need you to vote. We're going to close the poll. I was thinking during Revolution, but I think we'll move it out to next Wednesday.
Okay.
Please go ahead and go in there and vote. That's a big important thing for something we have in the books for probably pre-Double or Nothing.
I would think so. I would think we'll get it done by then. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Seeing the Elite. We'll see you guys on Monday after Revolution. Oh, man, what a weekend it's going to be. Until then, go out and change the world.